My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, their songwriting technique, and occasionally getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. Welcome to episode 140. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Planet. The indie rock band from Sydney, Australia, today released their debut record, entitled Information Overload. In today's episode, we're speaking with Matty and Tommy from the band about what it's like working with Adrian Busby, touring with the original Wiggles, and the state of pop music today. Here we go. Our guests today are two of the four members of one of the most exciting indie pop bands to come out of Sydney. Having previously released singles such as Resign, Need More, and Chip Won't Change, they're releasing their debut record today, which is entitled Information Overload. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Matty and Tommy from Planet. Good morning, gents. How are we?
Good. How you doing, Simon?
Very well, thank you. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in my home studio in Redfern, where we did most of the recording of the album. And I think, you're in Linfield?
I'm at home.
At home?
At home, yeah. I'm in Linfield, up North Shore, hanging out. Beautiful day.
Beautiful. I am, although we're based in Adelaide now, I am, was born somewhere near the North Shore, from my understanding. The certificate seems to say that anyway, so I'll take the paper on its worth.
Yeah, I think my dad's name was spelled incorrectly on my birth certificate, so I needed to update that like a couple of years ago, which is pretty funny.
What did they do wrong?
Oh, he has a weird name anyway, so they his name's Mariah Doc, and they made it Mariah Doll. So to get my British passport, I needed to get it amended. But yeah, that's fair. I think that's quite a bit of a. How did that even happen? That's quite a bit of a mistake. Yeah, I don't know. I think they were pretty shit in the 90s, I think, with the typewriter.
That's fair. Look, the reason that we are chatting today, it's a very exciting reason. Planet are releasing their debut record, Information Overload, which is, congratulations, boys.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
How long has this album kind of been in the works now?
Do you want to talk on this, Peppy?
2 years.
Yeah.
I'd say from start to the 11th when it's out, I'd say 2 years, I reckon. I think there were some delays in there. Like we obviously, I'm not going to say the word. Everyone knows what's going on, but all of that stuff that's happening at the moment, that didn't delay anything too much. I think we kind of had maybe all up like 3 to 4 months of delays, which I feel like is pretty good considering everything. So, I think we started demoing it just before the first kind of wave hit Australia. And then we found ourselves, instead of being able to demo together in person, we were demoing kind of from each other's house, sending files across and stuff. So we did a lot of that work. In lockdown, actually. It was mainly written in lockdown, a lockdown album.
Because the plan initially was, I believe, quite the opposite of a lockdown album. You guys were going to travel halfway across the other side of the world and kind of right over there. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the plan. I think, it was for like early 2020.
Well, that was
2020.
That was that was when we were meant to go. We were meant to go over there. Our EP came out basically right when the pandemic hit. So we were meant to go overseas to the UK.
That's right, because there was talks of us delaying the EP, but we just did it anyway.
Yeah, so we were going to go over and actually base ourselves in the UK in 2020 and then work on our debut album in the UK in 2020, but obviously that didn't happen. We did still get to work with a UK producer though, and that was Adrian Busby, so that was still very cool.
Yeah, of course. I can imagine, and we'll get to Adrian in a little bit, but I can imagine that kind of going over and having a plan to tour and then write and record and do all that kind of catches you unaware. Do you think that the album that has come out today is kind of that the album that you were going to release back then, if that makes sense?
Yeah, probably not actually. It's a product of its time, and because everything was going on and whatever, we had more of the chance to actually like really hone in on the sounds and try different stuff out. And it was sort of cool the way we were recording, as me and Tom are the main songwriters. We're sort of doing our own little bit on our like computers at home and then sending off stems and stuff through like Google Drive, so we could sort of have our own little space and sort of like try out weird stuff and not really like be like, oh yeah, we're like, we're recording together, like, let's just try and get it done and try and get it down. We could actually experiment, I think, a bit more.
I think
which helped a lot with that.
I think we were planning to step things up a bit and kind of spend a bit more time in the studio as opposed to the usual thing we do is we record some of the bones of things in studios and then do the rest at home in the home studios because it's just how we prefer to work. But I was looking forward to kind of stepping it up and getting into a studio and kind of exploring that space a little bit more. But like Matt said, the way that we did it was a way we'd never done it before, and having that space, having that personal space to be able to come up with parts and write and not have someone like over your shoulder or being in a room together and kind of like getting sick of being in a room together for like 8 hours was kind of nice in a way as well.
You're sort of on your own time as well.
Yeah.
In that way. But it worked out really cool, I think. And for what it was, like we were really looking forward to actually just being in a proper studio and being with like an actual producer and someone who could be like, oh, jump in at that time, jump into that time, which we have heaps of time to do that for our other records. But for what it was and what it is, it turned out really cool.
Yeah.
It is a gorgeous record. And I know that
Thanks.
Obviously, of course, it wasn't the kind of studio experience that you had initially thought of. I feel that you did kind of have a unique studio experience, if you're happy to talk about it, if we're allowed to talk about AIM or the Australian Institute of Music and what happened there.
Yeah, I'll let Matty talk about that. If we can talk about it.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. So pretty much I was at this party. It was a bit of a loose one. We were like the stragglers at the end, and I met this guy and he worked at AIM, and he was like, love, we were just talking about gear so much. We were just like nerding out and like at the early hours of the morning. And then it so happened that he worked at AIM, and he was like one of the microphone wizards that helped in and did all the tech support. And he let us pretty much used the big room in AIM because it was around that time where it was lockdown and all that, where no one was really coming in anyway. So that big room was all free, and we did all guitars there, we did bass there, we did grand piano there. I borrowed a couple of mics off him actually and did acoustic in here, which was really, really cool with like a Neumann and an AKG. It was really comfy as well, but we had to work around different times and sort of.
I had to tell them, I looked the receptionist right in the eyeballs and told her I was a student a couple of times.
Yeah, it's a bit.
But no one was using it. Like you can't, it's all just sitting there, and like everyone, the classes went on and stuff. Like you got to put it to use. Yeah.
That's how that gear sort of like wears down if it just actually doesn't get any power into it.
our friend would have been out of a job if we weren't there using the equipment. It's like, you know, nothing.
We're pretty much employing people.
Yeah, we're basically employing people.
Yeah.
Planet is keeping the economy running during lockdown. Exactly.
That's it. No one else is. So fuck. Government's not helping.
I do agree with that.
In all seriousness, that was very cool being able to work in there, but also being left to work in there. And like Matt and I aren't strangers to any of that gear, but working with gear that was like definitely stuff that we hadn't like worked with before. And it was kind of nice to just be in there and have that space, you know?
Definitely.
100%. The record is, as I just mentioned, it is kind of gorgeous. It has this energy throughout it that I feel that all the songs are obviously different. It's not like a part 1 through 13 of the same song. But it does, it maintains the same energy throughout, which I kind of think a lot of classic records maintain or they keep. I'm curious for you guys, is that something that's discussed when you initially go into the studio? Or is it just kind of something as you're kind of going along with the recording process?
I don't think we've ever, I mean, it's our first album, but with this album, it wasn't like we sat down and we were like, this is what it's going to be like start to finish. It was kind of just like we picked out the songs that we thought were the strongest and then pieced them together in the best way on the album. But each song was very much viewed and treated as its own thing. And then when it came to like track listing and stuff, that was when we were kind of piecing together how things would fit together, but it wasn't so much on the lines of, say, like a concept album where you want everything to be this one thing. Wasn't that at all. But it is nice to hear that the energy's up. I get that vibe from it as well when I listen to it, that it kind of every song is its own, but they still, when you listen start to finish, it does keep up that momentum throughout it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have like three of the songs are actually older songs as well that we didn't even re-record. We just remixed and sort of reimagined a couple with Adrian Busby. So it's good hearing that you know they have the same sort of energy as all the other new ones, which is cool. But it's all just like a snapshot of what we wanted as a debut album, and we sort of wanted to give love to the older songs, you know.
Yeah, a snapshot of our songwriting, old and new.
Yeah.
Old and new.
Can only do one debut.
Yeah.
I think you've done it well. I think you guys should be very, very proud of this one.
Thank you.
Cheers.
As you mentioned, Adrian Busby worked on the record, who some people might not know the name, but they would definitely know, I guess, some of his back catalogue. I think there's Placebo, there's U2, I think Spice Girls are on there somewhere.
Yeah.
He did that Bluejuice record?
Yeah, he did New Order as well.
Oh, yeah.
That one with Crystal on it. So sick.
Yeah.
How did the opportunity, or how did that kind of working with him come about?
His agent, his people emailed our people. His agent emailed our manager and said that he had been listening to our EPs, our last EPs, and he'd seen our activity over in the UK, and he was kind of he was keen to work with us on something. Whether it wasn't really discussed what that would be at that point, but it was just like, you know, he was just expressing his interest to work with us. So that kind of sat there for a bit, and then when it came to deciding what we were going to do with the album, I think we reached back out to him and got on a Zoom call with him, as you do, just to try and see if it's a good fit. I think he was keen to do studio time and stuff, so they were thinking that we might be able to get over to London to do it, but that was like in the thick of it all, and we were like, oh, you know, it'd be, you know, 2 weeks isolation either end, and you know, it's not something that we wanted to do. So it was a first for him. I think it was a first for him the way that we did it. So he when we were chatting with him and stuff during the process, I think he found it a bit strange, but he also found it kind of cool. Yeah, that's it. That's the story. It was so good for him to be approached by someone like that and have someone like that like keen to work with you as well.
Yeah, of course. I think especially having someone of that caliber kind of come to you and say, let's work together is incredible. you guys have kind of, found some, or built some traction, found some love in the UK. The sound of the band, when listening to the record, it's not, I don't want to say it's exactly like Britpop, because it's not. I don't want to, I think it was a lazy comparison. I initially thought there was like a hint of Oasis, but then in doing my research found out that I think the Verve Urban Hymns is a big record for you guys, and that made a lot more sense in terms of the album and the songwriting. Do you guys remember what brought you together as a band to begin with, and what those kind of influences were?
The most powerful designer drugs are the digital ones we use daily. And we get high off them. One touch, tap, like, scroll at a time. You know, just like tech creators want us to. Use digital without digital using you. Learn more at sync.ithra.com.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Oh, God. I don't even know if I can... Matt, I think... Me and Matt went to the same school, and so did a couple of members from our original lineup in another project. And I think we came together because we were like the only musical... like the only guys from the music class at school that were like trying to actively pursue something after school. So we kind of all just fell into each other's laps. And then we were jamming and stuff, just kind of grew from there. But we from there, me and Matt, Matt's one of my best friends, and I didn't even say a word to him at school. I didn't even know he existed until we finished school, So it's like very interesting that in that way, I guess. But then, you figure out you've been at a school with someone that long, and then you see each other after, and, we have very similar tastes in music, also very different, which is, I think, important when writing songs together. If you're both trying to write songs that are influenced by the exact same band or people, then your songs aren't going to sound original or unique.
Yeah, 100%. It's something that I feel, I think, who was it? Tommy, I think that you have recently learnt to compose or arrange. I've been dabbling in arrangements. We use software string and software instruments and stuff to kind of like piece together like what I call scores. Not really scores though, because it's not like that level. But I do have to write out the sheet music so that it can be sent over and used by people who are tracking it, which is something I want to do more of in the future. 100%. When you're both songwriting together, is there an element of, I guess, like Matty will be giving a song structure and you'll hear, maybe not for every song, but you'll hear like a score for some parts, or is it, I'm wondering how the dynamic of both of you songwriting together works.
Yeah, well, the first, when, say, like, for example, like One to Keep You, which is the last track on the album, I just jammed out sort of like a thing with acoustic guitar, had that melody and had the vocals and the lyrics. And it was literally just the acoustic guitar and my vocals for like the 3 minutes or whatever it is. And then I sent that over to Tom, and like pretty much straight away he was like, oh, cool, I hear this string part. And in that way, when we were sending it over, through Google Drive and all that, I sent it over to him and he sent it back, and it was like, whoa, this whole orchestra's on it. So I think that's how that one happened. But I think when we are properly in the room together and we're writing, which is obviously the best way I like to do it is like 2 acoustic guitars. You're sitting down, you're just fleshing out the song, because realistically, if a song sounds good on acoustic guitar, then it's going to sound great with whatever production you want put on it, you know, just like as the base of the whole song. So I know I'm excited for this album number 2 to see how it goes with 2 acoustic guitars and then just working out cool little string arrangements on that, because I think that's definitely the sort of direction that we want to head to. And yeah, I know it sounds lush, and I think it sounds really lush.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's interesting because I think that works as well. But like, I love tinkering with stuff. I love like laying heaps of stuff off and mucking around with sounds. Like, oftentimes I'll just finish something. So even with that song, you send it over and just like layer it up and just build it up. And then when I'm doing that myself with songs that I've written and sent over, I'll do all of that before I even pay any attention to like a vocal melody or lyric stuff. Very much like sonic territory, which I think is why I'm pulled towards all this arrangement stuff and like working with like bigger groups of instruments just as a texture thing.
Yeah, 100%. With what you've just said, can we, I guess, expect, I know we're talking about debut album, but can we expect the follow-up record sooner rather than later if you've already begun songwriting?
I think that's the plan.
Yeah.
We have a few in the vault already, about like 30, 40, that we just need to sort of like, tune up and sort of finish off and do all that. But yeah, I reckon.
I think we'll be looking at I think we'll definitely be looking at tracking that at some point this year.
Yeah, hopefully a single by the end of the year, depending on time.
Yeah, we're getting angsty. This album's been recorded it's been recorded and mastered for like close to a year now. It's time to record something here.
Yeah, it's time to let it out, which finally we have.
Yes, exactly. We're not going to complain. The more the better in terms of music from yourselves, guys. As we discussed, there's a lot of love coming from the UK. You guys are heading back there in April, I believe, as well as some shows in Australia around March. Are you excited to kind of get back out there both nationally and internationally and kind of play some shows?
Hey, last year we played one show. It was crazy. We played one show, and it was one show in Melbourne in March. So I want at least 80, maybe even triple digits for this year. So it needs to happen. So excited. It's like,
yeah.
It's part and parcel of being a musician. You can only just record for like a certain amount of time, So yeah, I reckon what it's looking like in the UK at the moment, they're looking very lenient in comparison to the New South Wales or Australian government at the moment. So it's looking very hopeful and very cool in terms of live music over there. And I'm sure Australia will get out of it soon,
We'll be over there. We'll be over there touring this album in May. It'll be the first, like the UK stretch, will basically be the first stretch of the album touring cycle. And I think we might just stay over there for a little bit. I think we might just stay over in England for a few months.
That's the plan.
I think that's very fair. With some of these live shows, there is one date that I'm curious about, in that you're supporting the original lineup of the Wiggles in Sydney as well.
Yeah.
For yourselves, writing the music that you write, what was that kind of, I guess, what was it like hearing that you guys would be playing with the OG Wiggles?
I think Matt laughed.
No, it's just crazy. It's like you're supporting a childhood sort of like nostalgic band at Kudos Arena, and they've already sorted it out.
I was literally in arenas as a kid with like a Dorothy the Dinosaur tail on, watching them when I was a kid. Like, it's very weird.
Like I was never a wiggler as a kid, but I think Tom was a full blown Dorothy.
I was a massive wiggler. Massive wiggler. It's like, yeah, it's insane, but it's a really big one for us. Obviously, there's such an iconic, well-known Australian act, loved by many.
Iconic.
And to get to support them, but also have the opportunity to play in such a big space and such a cool venue it's truly exciting.
No, it should be really fun, I reckon. And it's pretty much, we might have to like fly out to UK, I think the day after, so it'd be a nice little send off.
It's that rockstar lifestyle.
The next morning. No partying with the Wiggles.
No wiggling. Early sleep. Way past my bedtime, I reckon.
Yeah.
Matty and Tommy, usually we would ask, I guess, what they're currently listening to. Is there, at the moment, any kind of record, single, EP, whatever it may be, that's kind of taking your fancy?
I've been listening to a lot of just like sort of pop music at the moment. I've been listening to I think there's like the latest single by Post Malone and The Weeknd. It's called One Right Now. It's like I've just been noticing heaps of new pop artists and all that stuff are using all these cool 80s sort of sounding like synthesizers and beats and stuff like that. So it's like really cool hearing all like the Junos in the background and stuff. But yeah, that song I've been sort of blasting a fair bit. It's just really catchy and has really good production on it.
Sick.
Yeah.
Tell me, what about yourself?
I've actually just been recently listening to music. I've been putting on just like cruising my Spotify Discover a little bit, not really like kind of sticking with too much, just feeling a bit because I'm in the middle of like go through stages with writing, and at the moment I'm writing a little bit more than I usually would, so it's nice to, instead of getting stuck on one thing, just zoom through every day or every week on the Spotify Discover and just like hear some different sounds. And there's some really cool, can't think of anyone off the top of the head, but I've been hearing some really cool Australian bands. And same as Matty, like even just found myself listening to a lot more like modern, like current pop music, because I feel like it's in quite a good spot. I feel like American pop music went through like a really weird time throughout. Obviously, definitely through the 2000s. The 2000s was weird, very strange. But like, even the 2010s, 2020. A bit quite not there, but it's really come back, and a lot of these big pop stars, even like Justin Bieber and stuff, are doing some really, really, really cool stuff.
It's sort of bringing back guitar music a bit as well, like they're all playing live bands.
Justin Bieber's got a live band now, and they're sick. Like I don't know if you have time, check them out, because like the stuff he's doing live at the moment is so much better than the stuff that he's actually putting out on record. And I think that just comes down to how pop music is produced in America, like top 40 pop music, But yeah, big on that stuff. They're bringing it back. 80s guitar and synth, so good.
What is the Weeknd's new record, Dawn FM? That one is extremely, like, I feel like that's his, just touching on what you both mentioned of the synths and the guitars and everything. That's like he's kind of oh my god, what is the word? He's crystallized. He's like the concentrate of what he's trying to do. He's finally done it.
Most definitely. It's a good album, that one, actually. Some real good songs. But it's pure 80s, hey. It's all drum machines. It's all like really like chorusy sort of sounding guitars and synths and stuff. It's Yeah,
look, music's in a good place, man. It's in a good place. No one should be complaining.
Not at all. And again, we're not just talking about the Weeknd's album. We are talking about Planet. Information Overload is the record that is out today.
That's it.
Matty and Tommy, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks so much, Simon.
Thank you.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Planet for their time. Information Overload is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to buy the record or see them on tour. We also want to give a huge shout out to Shari at Great Company Collective for helping out with today's interview. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Wednesday and Friday morning, and we now have a Patreon, which you can find within the show notes of this episode. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.